OCO, I hold us up. Welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an Aboriginal program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the original peoples of the Americas, east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. All right? So, we're here on the 7th part of the series, The Empire Strikes Black, Lineage of the Aboriginal Movement. Okay? And for those who have not seen parts 1 through 6, I highly suggest that you stop this video right now and take a look at those parts. Otherwise, you're going to be totally lost. All right? So, yes, go and look at that now. Stop the video and go back and look at 1 through 6 to get caught up. Otherwise, nothing that I'm saying to you right now is going to make sense. So I'm going to stick with the timeline. 30 minutes. Okay. And I'm going to pick up where we left off at. Okay, I'm not going to go backwards in the interest of time. I don't want to cheat you out of information. And it's in the wee hours of the AM, and I have to get to bed because I have to work in a couple of hours. So let's get this done. We're going to begin with looking at a couple of comments. Okay, so like I said, you always have a hater, and we have a troll who's been trolling here, Carlton Walker. Okay, Carlton Walker, he got kind of offended, He says I'm biased, against homosexuals, I mean, I'm not, That's his preference, He wanted to keep going back and forth with me, and, I don't have a whole lot of time to waste with people, with trolls in the chat and stuff like that. So I said, hey, let's make a wager, If you're so adamant, okay, so he says here, let me give you a little background of how this conversation is going. Okay, so, put it up here. He says, you guys, talking about Moors, you guys don't have any treaties that predate the United States, meaning that you guys come after. Okay? Now, that's a bunch of caca. First of all, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's BS. Okay? It's BS. It's doggy poop. All right? And I can prove that, and I have copious amounts of documentation to prove that this guy's an idiot, And so I said, hey, man, I ain't got time to, hey, if I'm going to waste my time going back and forth with you, let's make a wager, okay? And, let's put something up, And I said, hey, put your girlfriend up, let's let, you know what I'm saying? And if I can prove that you don't know what you're talking about, and I can prove you wrong, then she's mine. You know, I said, you know, but, you know, if you have, you know, then again, if you don't have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend or whatever, then don't reply, don't respond, you know, and I'll leave that alone. And he didn't respond, you know, and, you know, he called me, you know, biased, you know, he started talking about how my lips look and, you know, well, and stuff like that. I said, hey, yo, you know, I don't have anything against anybody, but you know, I'm a proud heterosexual. You know, I mean, he has a right to his preference. You know, I don't mess with that, but I have the right as well, just as much right to be heterosexual. So anyway, you know, I told him, I said, hey, that's your preference, bro. You know, I'm not. Hey, I'm not gonna mess with that. You know, so Carlton Walker, you know, do your thing. You know, your child can have two daddies. You know, that's your prerogative. You know, hey, don't mess with that. But anyway, you know, so he proceeded, you know, to keep asking questions that, you know, he wouldn't answer any of my questions. You know, he wouldn't answer any of my questions. See, these guys get to ducking and dodging, and all right. So let me just show you what I asked this clown. So let's look here in the comments. Yeah. Let's see here. This is on the video, the Aboriginal Smackdown. Let me see, where is he? Is it in that one? Let's see. Yeah, I'm not gonna read what my reply is. You know, I get heated, so. But I did ask him. You know, you know, I said, BS. Who, who do you think recognized America? Who were the first? Well, who were the first presidents? Answer that. I have plenty more. MOOR for your ass. You gotta come better than that, bruh. You know, I also replied, and there's a lot more to it than that. You know, I was just giving him a little bit of flavor. You know, yeah, those were the questions. You know, he wouldn't answer those questions. You know. There's another. He gave another response too. I'm trying to find. Oh, here's what he said. Carlton, you're dodging my question again. Which, based on acquiescence, you know, we can correctly conclude that, you know, you are a homosexual, you know, whichever, that's your business. And I don't judge you. You see it here in writing. I don't judge you for your sexual preference, you know, but at least, you know, now we know why you can't accept the challenge. You know, why you won't accept my challenge, you know. And, you know, he proceeded. You see right here, it says, nobody is worried about you and you're biased, you know. Said another, so you see it here in print, you know. Anyway, you know, that's it. That's that. And yeah, he started, you know, he wouldn't answer my questions. You know, he started answering questions with questions, you know, which, you know, these people, they don't even, you know, they make these arguments that they can't back up, you know, and some of the you know, he's asking questions and you can't even understand. You know, you can't even, the guy can't even construct a sentence. You know, and you're a scholar. You know what I'm saying? You're not even literate, but you're a scholar. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna read that foolishness because you can't even make out what he's saying. You know. So I mean, as I say, we got to put an end to street corner scholarship. You know, we're gonna move past that nonsense. And, you know, I don't want to rob y'all. Anyway, let's get right into it. It's PowerPoint. Let's get this up. Waste too much time with that stupid stuff. You know, this guy's a clown. Ain't even ain't worth wasting my time. You know, he is not me wasting. He's not worth me wasting my time. Anyway, okay, so here's where we left off at. I proved. So far, I have proven that these people like Carlton, who will call themselves Aborigines today, they have pretty much stolen and repackaged the Moorish information and scholarship that validated the oral history. Okay, they've stolen it and repackaged it and presented it to a younger generation, making it seem like they were the authors of it when in actuality they stole it. All right. So we were talking about the Black Seminoles, okay, as they call themselves. All right. Black Seminole freedmen. Okay, that's where we left off at. And we got into this Jet Magazine article here. Let me make this a little smaller so you can see the screen. This Jet Magazine article here. This is what we were looking at. Okay. And we basically saw where the freedmen were getting disrespected, you know, and the Mongoloid freedmen told him in so many words, hey, you know, you guys were runaway slaves coming in as you were part of the nation, but you were not part of us by blood. Okay, and that's how they see it. You know, that's how these tribes see it. You guys who are melanated, they see you as being not by blood, but Indian through admixture. Okay, and a lot of these Aborigines are disillusioned in thinking that they are seen as being Aboriginal because they have dark skin. And that is not the case. It's not how these tribes see it. Okay? You try to get enrolled in one of the tribes, you know, at least the 5 civilized tribes. Let me make that distinction because everybody's not part of the 5 civilized tribes. Okay? That's another thing these millennial Aborigines don't understand. You know, the 5 civilized tribes, you know, there's oh my God, you know, there's thousands more tribes than just the 5 civilized tribes. Okay, but you know, this thing is all messed up, man. You know, thing is all messed up. These guys don't know what the hell they're doing. You know. But anyway, you know, but that's what happens when you only have half of the story, okay? And you don't want to claim your ancient lineage, okay? Your ancient Aboriginal lineage, you know. You want to play, you know, instead of being mound builders, right? Anyway. And not that we don't have that blood, you know. But that blood is not older than my ancient blood, my ancient mound builder blood. You know, they don't predate the ancient ones. Anyway, so we're going to take a look at. I was trying to find the video. See, I have this video on VHS from way back in the days, on VHS tape, where you could actually see the whole thing with the Seminole freedmen and, you know, how they just got straight violated. You know, it was on 60 Minutes. It was either 60 Minutes or CNN. Can't remember which one. It might have been CNN or 60. Well, one of them. I have it on VHS tape, but I have no way to show it to you from VHS. You know, I don't have the technology to do that. You know, I mean, I have a VHS. I mean, I could turn the screen towards the TV and all that, but that would be awkward, and I don't know how the quality would come out. You know, I might try that. I don't know. I might try that one day, but right now it's not possible because I have to physically pick up the computer and move it, you know, to the other part of, you know, the place and all that. It's too much hassle. But anyway, I do have the transcript. Okay, so I'm gonna look at the transcript right now, and I'm gonna read to you the transcript. So again, if you're hard-headed and you're just joining and you haven't seen the previous parts, you're gonna be lost. But what we're doing, you know, if that be the case, what we have been doing is looking at setting the record straight and looking at who actually stole from who. Did the Moors steal from the quote-unquote Aborigines, or did the Aborigines steal from the Moors? You see, because back in the days, you know, you said Aborigine, it was automatically assumed that you were a Moor. Okay? What there was, back in the days, there was no distinction between Aborigine and Moor. Because the only ones that were saying we are Aboriginal, the only group that was saying that we are Aboriginal were the Moors. Okay? That was the only group back in the days. You know, we're talking like 20, 30 years ago, you know what I'm saying? You know, and beyond. All right? And that was putting out literature. And I'm showing you what the literature was. We're doing a timeline, and we're looking at what the literature was back in the days. Who was putting out literature saying that we are Aboriginal, okay? And I'm showing you who put out what. We're looking at all of those people, those copper-colored people, okay, who were dressed wearing chokers, you know, wearing regalia and stuff like that, you know, repping the culture, you know, like me, repping the culture, you know, dream catcher, you know, my Indian hair, you know, all that, you know, going to powwows with that. All the people that look like us, you know what I'm saying, back in the days, and what the literature was back then. Who was putting out what? Was it the Moors, or was it the people, you know, who were claiming, you know, the tribes and stuff like that? People who you know, claim lineage from a tribe or whatever, and this, that, and the other, who claim to be black Indians back in those days. We're looking at what their literature was, okay? And we're looking at what the Moors' literature was, and we're looking at who jumped on whose bandwagon, okay? So now, here we go. And we already showed you back in the previous article, Jet Magazine, we already looked at the timeline. So we've moved, you know, we're getting closer, you know, to the year 2000-ish, coming out of the 90s, you know. I still have some documents from the 90s too we're going to look at, you know, but we've moved, you know, we're moving out of that. We're getting more towards now when the hijack came, okay? Meaning, you know, those where they started to be a change in the narrative, you know, and when people started taking the Moorish literature and repackaging it and claiming it, you know, to be something other than what it originally was. Okay, so this is 60 minutes. 60 minutes. Okay, I was right. Okay, 60 minutes, and you can look this up. Okay, you want the link? It's cbsnews.com/news/the letter A, small letter A, dash nation dash divided slash. Okay. So it says a nation divided. An Indian tribe debates membership. Indian tribes across the country are reaping windfall profits these days, usually from gambling operations. But some, like the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, are getting rich from belated government payouts for lands taken hundreds of years ago. Can y'all see this? Let me see if I can make this a little bigger, because I want y'all to see this. Okay, yeah, that's a little bigger. Y'all should be able to see that. All right. What makes the Seminoles unique is that this tribe, unlike any other, has existed for nearly 3 centuries as a mixture of Indians and blacks. Not Aborigines, Indians and blacks. Runaway slaves who joined the Indians as warriors in Florida. Together they fought government troops in some of the bloodiest wars in U.S. history. In the late 1830s, they lost their land and were forced to a new Indian home in present-day Oklahoma. Over the years, some tribe members have intermarried, blurring the color lines even further. Now the government is paying the tribe $56 million for those lost Florida lands, and the money is threatening to divide a nation. Seminole Chief Jerry Haney says the black members of the tribe are no longer welcome. Okay? No longer welcome. All right? Just shitted on them. After 300 years together, the chief says the tribe wants them to either prove they're Indian or get out. And again, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just saying, when you don't know yourself, okay, this is what happens, you know. You want to deny that you're a mound builder. This is what happens. But see, even at the same time, they didn't a lot of them, they didn't even know this. You know, only, like I said, they didn't have this history about us being aboriginal to the land and stuff like that. They didn't have this history. Okay? They did not, dog. That's why I keep telling y'all. It was just, only the Moors was talking this stuff back in the days, man. You know, and these are people who are tribally affiliated. All right? Tribally affiliated, not you just Johnny-come-latelys, you know, who just discovered you were Indian like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, you just woke up in 2015. You know what I mean? These are people, you know, this is back in like 2002. You know what I mean? You know? And these are older. You see the actual video, you know, these are older folk. You know, gray hairs. You know, walking in canes and stuff, you know. All y'all talk about, yeah, my grandma said we was Indian, this, that, and the other, and all that, and, you know, what they knew and what they, you know. So how come they ain't know we were Aboriginal? Okay, so it just goes to show you, you know, just because your elders didn't tell you, you know, they were more this, that, and the other, or whatever, they're Aboriginal, whatever, that doesn't mean that they know everything. You know, they know what they know, but you got to remember, you got to keep in mind, a lot of elders who knew the real deal were killed. Okay? Don't you know that Indians, the real Indians, were being hunted? Don't you know that if you spoke the ancient languages, you were killed? Y'all don't know nothing, man. I got the documentation on all this stuff, man. You're gonna tell me. As long as I've been doing this. I see, anything that I say, I don't say it unless I have the documentation right in front of me. Okay? I'm not gonna say it if I can't back it up. Alright, so a lot of times with these clowns like Carlton Walker or whatever, sitting up there talking that nonsense, you know, I have the documentation right in my hand. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the document right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you fool. That's why I say, you know, hey, you want to make a wager? You know what I'm saying? Let's make a wager. You put money up, put your girl up or whatever, you're going to lose that. You feel me? You're going to lose, you know, because I got the documentation. Documentation's within eyesight. Okay, but anyway, let's. Oh man, we are out of. You hear that? We out of time. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna, as you can see, my time. I'm gonna give you an extra 15 minutes because I wanna get this document going. All right. Anyway, let me read this fast. Okay. Okay. So. The chief just dog cracked on the not Aborigines. Well, they are Aboriginal, but they don't know the history, you know. But they, you know, they told him to get out. The chief told him to get out, prove that you're Indian or get out. Not meaning proving, you know, oh yeah, I'm an Aboriginal to the land, and you know what I'm saying, this, that, and other. No, prove your blood quantum is what they talking about. Show on the Dawes rolls and show your blood quantum. Okay? And, you see, I don't want to hear your nonsense. I don't care who you are. I don't want to hear your nonsense because I have the video. I have the video right here where the chief said you have to prove who you are with the Dawes Commission, and we want blood quantum. Okay? Not as being no freedman. Mongoloid. Prove your quantum with Mongoloid lineage. Okay, anyway. Harsh words. It says here, this is where we are right here. Follow the cursor, the arrow. Harsh words from the Seminole chief for the 2,000 black members of this mixed Indian tribe. In response to the black members, in response, the black members say they're just as much Seminole as Haney is. On any given Sunday, Loretta guests to the Indian Baptist Church in Seminole County, Oklahoma, and no, she said, "Oh, I'm bugging. I'm really sleepy. You know, it's in the wee hours of the night. On any given Sunday, go with Loretta guests to the Indian Baptist Church in Seminole County, Oklahoma, and you will find red and black Seminoles praying together." And hold on. Let's back up. Hold on. Red and black. They're not saying red meaning, you know, like my red. You know what I'm saying? No. They're not talking about what the real red is. Okay? Red meaning Mongoloid. You know, like yellow, like a Chinaman. Okay? Red, you'll find red and black Seminoles. They're making a distinction here. Okay? Red meaning Mongoloid and black meaning colored, what they call coloreds back then. you know, Negroids, okay, praying together, singing hymns in Seminole, sharing meals, and catching up on tribal news. Walk with her through the Indian cemetery out back, and you'll find their ancestors are buried together as well. Loretta claims that there was never any distinction made between the two groups of Seminoles. We've always been treated as one to another. No difference at all, she says. It was an alliance that began more than 300 years ago in Florida when runaway slaves and runaway slaves, and they're making a distinction, and different Indian tribes sought refuge together and later fought the white man. Joe Opala, a history professor at Madison University in Virginia, says that from the beginning, it was a melting pot tribe. In fact, the word Seminole is not even an Indian word. It is derived from the Spanish word cimarron, meaning runaway slave. And so, from the beginning, you don't have an Indian tribe. It was a multi-ethnic coalition, he says. Historical evidence documents their close relationship. Blacks became chiefs, signed treaties, and served on the tribal council. They intermarried. They were equals, Opala says. And the Indians depended on them as warriors and interpreters. There's a lot of intelligence information that passes back to Washington. For instance, General Jessup, the commanding general, writes back at one point to the War Department and says the Negroes ruled the Indians. What he was referring to was the fact that no significant decision was ever taken in the Seminole councils unless the black members agreed to it, he says. When the black and red Seminoles were forced out of Florida in 1830, they traveled together hundreds and hundreds of miles by boat and on foot. It was a long and difficult journey, referred to as their Trail of Tears for the many who died along the way. Now, nearly 200 years later, comes the $56 billion payment from the federal government to compensate for lost Florida lands. But the black Seminoles can't share in it because the government and the tribe say they were slaves of the red Seminoles back then. They were aborigines of the of the red Seminoles back then. They were aborigines of the red Seminoles back then. They were aborigines of the red Seminoles back then. No, it says they were slaves of the red Seminoles back then. As slaves, they could not have owned land. Joe Opala, who has worked to preserve their legacy, says that's wrong. The black Seminoles fought side by side, died, bled for those lands in Florida. They've been together. They've been good brothers and good neighbors for 3 centuries. It makes no sense now to say they're not Indians, he says. Bud Rocket and his sister Polly Gentry traced their Seminole roots back to their great-grandmother Dora Davis, who came to Oklahoma on the Trail of Tears. Our ancestors were some of the fiercest fighters during war, Bud says. But family legend and physical resemblance aren't enough. Today, you have to be able to prove your Indian heritage, which is hard for most black Seminoles because of something called the Dawes Rolls. This is a government census of sorts created in the late 1800s, which separated the tribe into the blood or red Seminoles. Okay, since somebody said that I know what I was talking about, let's read that again. Separates the tribe into the Aboriginal Seminoles, the Aboriginal Seminoles, the Aboriginal Seminoles? No, the blood or red Seminoles, meaning Mongoloid. And the freedmen or black Seminoles. Intermarriage made no difference, as Polly and Blood discovered with their ancestors See, a lot of times too, Negroes can't read. Let's just call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I have to break it down like this, and you know, break down the what the commas mean, what the and mean, and you know, all of that stuff. You know, because a lot of our people, you know, let's just be real about it. A lot of our people cannot read, and that's the source of a lot of this confusion that is out here academically. A lot of our people cannot read. I am an educator by profession, okay? By profession, I have a degree, okay? My occupation, I mean my 9 to 5, okay? I work in education, so I can say with confidence, yes, it is true. Our people struggle with reading and reading comprehension. Okay? Let's just keep it a buck. All right? High level of illiteracy among our people. Sorry to say it, but it's true. So I have to break it down like this and show you how to read this. All right? So don't get mad. Again, I work in education, so I know what I'm talking about. I see it every day, be damn near in tears, working in this educational fool system that's not teaching our youth properly. Okay? Then by the time they turn 17, 18 years old, they expect you to work a miracle when they've been cheated and robbed for the first, from K through 11. Anyway, let's stay on topic. All right, so intermarriage made no difference, as poly and blood discovered with their ancestors. If you had any black blood in you whatsoever, you were a freedman. A freedman. An Aborigine? An Aborigine? An Aborigine? A freedman, he says. Black, meaning African. That's what they're talking about here. They mean African. Runaway slave. Putting aside the story of togetherness. See, you can't see. That's what happens when people jump on the bandwagon too quickly and profess themselves to be authorities. Okay, you get out there too quick. All right. See, I know chiefs. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can't tell me anything. You know what I'm saying? I know chiefs. I know plenty of chiefs. So I ain't making this stuff up. You know. I met the former Cherokee chief. All right, don't tell me what I'm talking about. You know. In person. All right. So don't tell me what I'm talking about. Anyway. Putting aside the story of togetherness, the blood Seminoles are going by the book. That is the government book. The Aborigine Seminoles? The Aborigine Seminoles? The Aborigine Seminoles? No. The blood Seminoles. When they say blood, by blood, they mean Mongoloid, man. Not no damn Negroes. Jesus Christ. Anyway. This is why you got to show people stuff in black and white. Anyway. Back in the days, we weren't trying to fit in with the Mongoloids and, you know, go to them and beg for citizenship and all this stuff. Moors were not doing that back in the days. We're like, pfft, you know what I'm saying? That's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali came along for. You know what I mean? I got ancestry on the rolls. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not interested. You know? I'm not interested. You know? There's another way that you can do it. Don't ask me because I'm not going to tell you. Because I know many of you are just in this because you want to find out how not to pay taxes. And that's the wrong purpose. You know, or you'll misappropriate the information and you want to go out and, you know, and figure out how to make packages and sell packages and stuff like that. You'll be like a lot of these dirty Moors out here selling packages and stuff, you know. It's not about that. It's about heritage. It's about proving your Aboriginal ancestry to this land. Okay? That should be at the forefront of everything, not for financial. See, when you come in like that, then you're dishonorable, you know, and the ancestors don't look favorably on you. Okay? I'm not in it for that. You know? As I say, no, I don't want a card. I do not want a tribal card. I can get a tribal card, no problem. But guess what? I don't want it. Okay? Because for one thing, I'm not trying to be up under the Bureau of Indian Affairs anyway. Okay? Another subject for another time. We're going to deal with that one day. Okay? We're going to deal with that. A lot of you new Aborigines don't understand what you're doing when you don't understand what you're getting yourself into when you do that. Okay, you are not sovereign when you do that. Okay, going and trying to enroll in these tribes and stuff like that, you're giving your sovereignty away. Okay, it's one step better than just being a regular Joe Schmo. Okay, but still at the end of the day, you have waived your sovereignty. You have waived your sovereignty. You are property of the federal government. Debate me on it if you dare. Okay? I've got the documentation. Like I say, anything that I say, y'all should know by now. The Fierce Truth Seeker is not going to say anything unless he has the documentation. I'll put it right on the screen and prove it to you. Anyway, time is up. But let me try to read this. All right, let me read the rest of this before we go. It's late. Y'all don't know how late in the night it is. I gotta be up in like 2 hours to work. Anyway, where were we? If you had any black blood in you whatsoever, you are free. He says, putting aside its scandal, Okay, putting aside the history of togetherness, the Blood Seminoles are going by the book. That is the government's book. They are relying on that 100-year-old census which separated the black Seminoles from the rest of the tribe and determining just who gets government money today. For Seminole leaders like Haney, what it now comes down to is proof. If they don't have any Indian blood or prove it, they are not looked at as Indians, he says. It's up to the individual to prove they are Indians. And this is where the problem is. They can't prove it with the Dawes Commission rolls. Polly Gentry has lived her entire life on land her grandmother received 100 years ago as a full member of the tribe. All Seminoles, red and black, were given land in Oklahoma. Polly says she could use some of the $56 million judgment fund to repair her house. My husband decided he was gonna put some bricks around it, and he got as far as you see them bricks is now. And he had a heart attack, she says. And it's been like this because I couldn't get anybody to fix it. I want enough money that I can get a house built where I can live comfortably, where I can live comfortably, because it isn't comfortable here. Opala calls it a concoction. It's just because, it's just an excuse now that's been dreamed up of late in order to exclude the blacks from membership in the tribe. I can tell you this, 100 years ago or 150 years ago, the Seminole Indians would not have been talking about whether or not this black person has Indian blood. It simply wouldn't have mattered. They were Seminoles, says Opala. For more than 100 of those years, black Seminoles held 4 of the 28 seats on the tribal council, but that ended at a meeting in the summer of 2000 when the red Seminoles voted the blacks out. Sylvia Davis, who was one of the 4 black council members at the time, says it was humiliating, just violating. It's been hard for me to sit here and listen to the way they talk to the freedmen. It's been hard for me, she says. The racist names that they are using towards them, calling them animal names like cows, stomping feet, and roaring at them, telling them to get out. Haney says many of the black Seminoles and even some of the blood Seminoles weren't interested in being part of the tribe until it included benefits, namely a piece of that $56 million from the government. He also says the red and black Seminoles have just grown apart over the years and have little in common today. But that's not how Sylvia Davis sees it. She's hired Will and John Velli, 2 young attorneys who specialize in Indian law. They're suing the government on behalf of the black Seminoles. The entire tribe received a county in exchange for a state. When it was individually allotted, all Seminoles, including the black Seminoles, received their individual allotments. When the United States awarded $56 million, shouldn't the same people that received the land before also receive the money? The tribe's the same, says John Foley. John Velli. The Bureau of Indian Affairs chose not to speak, citing the pending lawsuit. However, in a letter, he says, I lost my place. The Bureau of Indian Affairs chose not to speak, citing the pending lawsuit. However, in a letter, it says, these kind of issues are up to the tribe. Eligibility for the judgment funds, the letter says, may depend upon whether a current member is deceased. I'm not deceased. You know I'm sleepy. May depend on whether a current member is descended from a member of the tribe as the tribe existed in 1823. However, the letter says deciding who's in and who's out is solely within the purview of the tribe. But the black Seminoles say they won't go quietly. They continue trying to cast votes and participate in tribal meetings without success. No success. Bud Crockett says He won't be denied his heritage, but he won't beg for it either. It's not all about the money. It's about settling the history. It's about setting the history records straight about our ancestry and our story, and what legacy we intend to leave for our kids, he says. Okay, and again, this is copyrighted 2002 CBS. Okay. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, "We are not Negro, black, and colored." Okay? Nationality is the order of the day. So as long as you go in and you come under those colorable titles, I'm sorry. That's how you get treated. Okay? Most of y'all still don't even know what Prophet Noble Drew Ali bought, what he brought to you all. It didn't just come with religion. It's not about religion. Okay? I'm not a religious person. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. So, for me, it's not about religion. You know, and that's not what he brought. Okay. Religion was just a veil. But anyway, another subject for another time. Sad reading stuff like this, you know. Like I said, we're looking at the literature. We're looking at who was saying what during a certain time frame. Like I said, only Moors. We're bringing that real. Okay. So now let's contrast. Biography of the Moors. This is some literature. Okay. All right. Within the same time frame. Biography of the Moors. This is a book. Small book, pamphlet. Moabite. Ruth the Moabite. All this stuff here. Moors are the founders of the first permanent civilization of the old world. By Brother Claudius M. Eel. Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Let's look at the literature. The Moors, founders of the first permanent civilization of the old world. The Moors. Let me make this a little bigger for y'all to see. The Moors, descendants of the ancient Moabites, were the root of civilization. They were the founders and the master builders of the present city of Mecca, located in Saudi Arabia. The ancient Moabites were a people always on the move. They received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt in ancient time to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa. And in parentheses, America today. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. The historical events took place long before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. When the great city of Atlantis stood where the Atlantic Ocean stands today. When the ancient Moabites used to trade and transport with their brothers in the surrounding kingdoms. These historic events took place long before Europe was even thought about. Religion. The religion of the ancient Moabites followed The religion the ancient Moabites followed was the Islamic faith, the oldest in the world, a Muslim faith which came from the heart of Allah. The Moors were responsible for the arts, science, and mathematics, which the world owes its debts today. Okay, don't get caught up in that whole religious part, because it's deeper than that. That's another subject for another time. There's a whole science behind all of that, metaphysics and all of that. But we're not going to get into that right now. Okay. First national flag. The first flag in the world was the Moorish flag. The Moorish flag is over 10,000 years old. It is red with a 5-pointed green star in the center. The 5-pointed green star stands for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. History of the Moorish flag. About 2,000 years ago, when Jesus of Nazareth was born in Bethlehem of Judah, in the house of David, the Moorish flag stood. The Moorish flag also has great history in the Battle of 1812. In that year, the flag went down in what is called Black Creek, Michigan, the last and strongest stand of the Moors of Northwest Africa against the conquering European armies. Tecumseh Bey, a Moorish sheik and leader of the last Moorish armies, went down under Old Glory, the Moorish flag. At that time, all of Europe was on the move to settling in the so-called New World, as well as parts of Asia and Southeast Africa. Let's make this a little bigger. Again, we're looking at literature that was put out during this time. The Moorish flag went down under the conquering French European armies, who established a French Moroccan colony in that country in the year. Oh, this is so hard to see. I can't see this. It's way too small. Anyway, that's not the main problem. I can't even see that. It's too small. Oh. Oh boy. Anyway, let's just skip that right now. I can't find it. Anyway, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's skip that. The Moorish flag did not go up again until in America until 1925, 113 years later, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali was sent to earth by Allah, the never sleeping God. Ooh, this is so small, man. It's killing my. Gotta make this bigger. All right, here we go. That's better. All right, Moorish flag. Let's go back up top. Moorish flag went down under the conquering French European armies, who established a French Moroccan colony in that country in the year 19123 AD. 100 years after the Moorish flag went down in Battle Creek, Michigan, USA. The Moorish flag did not go up again in America until 1925, 113 years later, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali was sent to earth by Allah for the never sleeping God to uplift fallen humanity. Drew Ali went to Washington, D.C. at the time of the Coolidge administration and asked for the Moorish flag, which was hidden in the vaults for 113 years. Flag goes up in Morocco. The Moroccan flag went up in Morocco 44 years later, when the Moors of that Northeast African country received their independence from France. March 2nd, 1956, Prime Minister Becker from Morocco and M. Pinion from France signed the agreement that restored Morocco's full independence. Lives were lost to achieve that freedom from the French. More on ancient Moorish history. Long before the coming of Jesus of Nazareth, the Europeans who were living in the mountains of Europe in the Stone Age period were on their way into becoming nations. The first known European leaders to establish a nation was Romulus and Remus, who as babies were nursed by a she-wolf in a mountain cave. In later years, they were the founders of the Eternal City, Rome, Italy, which became a Roman Empire in later years. Prophets had come and gone since the rise of Europe. One of the great prophets to come on the scene 2,000 years ago was Jesus of Nazareth, who was the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites. Jesus was sent to earth by Allah to redeem the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, Rome, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. Rome crucified him according to their law. There was a peace for a long time, 622 years, until Muhammad came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus. Muhammad the Conqueror, 570 to 632 AD, founder of the uniting of Islam in the Middle East. Before the coming of Muhammad, who was Jesus reincarnated, the Muslims of Asia and Africa began turning away from the religion of Islam, the same religion taught by Jesus years before. They were worshiping idols and statues. Blah, 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 blah. Skip down. It's not the part I really wanted. It's not the meat and potatoes I wanted y'all to get. Okay, the Moors help on the spread of the religion. The Moors are the ones who spread the religion of Islam to the north coast of Africa. In the year 711 AD, 89 years after Muhammad had passed, the Moors invaded Spain. They invaded by way of Gibraltar. The Moors settled in Spain. They brought a rich and splendid culture to that backward land whose people, along with the rest of Europe, were still in somewhat dark ages with their medieval superstitious beliefs. The Moors at that time had long before had a large Moorish empire. The location was Morocco, Northeast Africa, and Northwest and Southwest Africa, known today as North and South America. This vast empire existed long before the great earthquake which caused the Atlantic Ocean. It existed up until Europe invaded the so-called New World. The Moors' invasion of Spain concluded with the decline of Visigoth ruler and King Roderick. I just pressed something by accident. That's made this smaller again. Damn. Right, now I gotta try to get this back bigger because I can't see it. Alright. I hate when this thing does that. Alright, I can't get it to get back bigger again, so I gotta struggle to read this. The vast empire existed long before the great earthquake which caused the Atlantic Ocean. It existed up until Europe invaded so-called the Moors invasion, the Visigoth, blah blah blah. We passed that already. The ruler and King Roderick, who was overthrown during Moorish rule in Spain. The Spaniards were allowed to exercise their own religion, Christianity, under Catholicism. The Moors ruled Spain for 800 years. Trying to get y'all to the juicy stuff here. Trying to get this thing back to the size it was where I could see it. All right, let me see this thing. Damn. I really hate this computers. Computers a piece of crap. Read the whole book. I just want to give you the main points dealing with the topic at hand. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Oh, man, so much better on my eyes. Okay, now we got it. All right. Woo! Man, this is no joke, man. Okay, who helped the settlers conquer the Moors and establish a Christian government? Going back into history of the 17th century, through the teachings of Brother Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated, we find that the Moors were not the only inhabitants of Northwest Africa. There were also, as we know them today, American Indians, who are really the Shemanites of the Shemanite tribes, the brothers of the Moors, who also lived in the Americas. Unlike the Moors, who were always industrious, the Shemanites were a lazy group of people under Moorish rule in a Moorish government at that time. When the intruders first came to what they called the New World, the so-called Indians at that time spoke the language of their brothers, the Moors, and betrayed them to the Europeans. Okay, and of course, he's talking about Mongoloid Indian. They're talking about Mongoloids here. The intruders, being a stranger to the New World, used the Shemanites as army scouts against the Moors and also as scouts for the wagon trains when they began moving west. The Shemonites would show the enemies where they stood a possible chance of defeating the Moorish armies. The Shemonites also would show the enemies where the Moors kept their families hidden when they went out to battle. The Moors used to hide their families in the mountain caves to protect them from the enemies when they went out to battle. When the Moors returned to the caves, they would find their families slaughtered. This method of battle in later years proved to be one of the main causes for European victory over the Moors. Another method the Europeans used was to call a so-called peace conference between themselves and the Moorish chieftains. Okay, now some of this stuff here, I've actually got documentation and confirmation of some of this stuff coming from what you call, quote unquote, what they call a full-blood Indian today. Okay. That's going to be later on in the other part of the series. Right now we're just dealing with the lineage. You know, we're just dealing with the lineage and what the literature was at the time. Now, you know, we're just putting everything on the record. Okay. You know, you may not agree with everything in here or whatever, you know, that's your prerogative or whatever. I'm just putting out what the documentation was, who was saying what at the time, you know. You know, and you may not agree with everything, with whatever you read, you know. You take what's good and the rest you throw away. But you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, you know. But I can say that a lot of this stuff, yes, I do have documentation coming from what they call Indians today. Oh, yeah. I got it. Anyway. Another method the Europeans used was to call a so-called peace conference between themselves and the Moorish chieftains. While holding the conference and smoking the peace pipes, they would offer the chieftains high-spirited drinks, get them drunk, and kill them. Now what's good is an army. Now what good is an army without its leaders? Shemonite reward. The Shemonites were paid, and paid well, for their part in the eventual defeat of the Moors. They were put on what was set aside as Indian reservations. On the reservations, they were taken care of by the new government, which still holds true for today. From about 1412 until 1774, 282 years, the Moors were losing the battle to the enemies. 1774 found a large percentage of the Moorish nation was defeated and conquered. Some of the Moorish armies in the Midwest remained free and still were fighting. They were classified by the established European government as renegades. Rewards and bounties were placed on their heads. Nationality and birthrights taken away from Moors. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by 1774, most of the Moorish armies were defeated. The European settlers did nothing to the Moors at first. They just studied them. The way they ate, lived, and acted. After being conquered and put into slavery, all history of the Moors and their teachings were collected by the Europeans and burned. in the year 1779 at 6th and Chestnut Streets, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Moors were stripped of their names, Bay and Il, dating back in ancient times to Abraham and Hagar, who were really Abraham, Il, and Hagar Bay. All right, on that note, it's late. The sun has come up. So I'm out of here. Okay? I am out of here. You know, wasn't supposed to go on this late. My goodness, man. Wow. I had no idea it was this late. I'm out of here. That's what happens. Let's see. All right. So, again, this is part 7 of the Empire Strikes Black lineage of the Aboriginal movement. And we'll pick up next time. We're on, okay, we're halfway through. We're more than halfway through. We're at slide 69. All right, that's where we left off at. Slide 69. Okay, so until the next time, do da da, bon hong eat.